What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday, which means Boxing Ego Monday Mail Day. Let me power through these questions. I'll try my best to get through as many as I can. If I don't get to you, make sure you ask your question next week. Let me know how I did in this video. Now, I did notice some people had very similar questions, just worded different. So I'll try to put them both on the screen, but I might not necessarily read all the questions if it's the same, basically the same question being asked. First question from the Fight Critic. Do you think Khan won't get his shot at May or Pac unless he fights either Thurman or Brook? When you've looked at recent Mayweather opposition, those guys were considered in the top 5 all around or have world titles. I think Brook is an ideal matchup for Khan with his country, bragging rights, money, and a title at stake, but Khan is dodging him like he owes him child support payments. You heard it from the Fight Critic. Ragneo456, Boxing Ego. It doesn't matter what Kell Brook does, Amir Khan always has an excuse as to why he won't fight him. My question is, do you think at this point Amir Khan is ducking Kell Brook? If you've seen his latest fight hype video, he's saying he can't fight Brook on June 13th when Ramadan is 4 days later, which I believe is a duck move. I won't want you fight the man who has the belt and will give you the biggest purse. Oh, why won't you fight the man? The biggest purse, win or lose. And if you win, you will get May or Pac winner in a title unification. And does Khan need to fight Brook? So, a lot of Khan Brook questions, lots of them. My honest opinion is, I'm not Khan. I'm not his team. I can't really speak on behalf of them. I know some of his team, but for me, this fight makes all the sense of the world. I outlined it in this video that you guys are seeing on the screen right now and give my claim as to why the fight needs to happen. Absolutely, I think it should happen. You beat Kell Brook, you become the man. And the thing people don't realize, Mayweather Pacquiao, biggest fight in history, right? And their belts are up for stakes, up for grabs or whatever. So whoever wins Mayweather Pacquiao is really the ultimate welterweight. That is the man. You know what I'm saying? And the only other meaningful belt that is left is the IBF belt. You know what I mean? The other person, whoever wins Mayweather Pacquiao, is going to have majority of the belts that are worth. He's going to have the green belts. He's going to have all the belts that are pretty much noted in the sport of boxing. The IBF is still a respected belt as well. So Kell Brook currently has that. So I don't see why Amir Khan wouldn't try to go after that since he's gunning for a Mayweather and Pacquiao shot. So if you want my full breakdown, watch the video that I mentioned in this. I'll try to put the link in the description. But I think the fight needs to happen. I don't know what else Kell Brook, Eddie Hearn, and his team can do to get the fight cracking, but they've already made their issue and they've made their claim publicly. So it's really on Amir Khan, his team, Al Heyman, whoever else, to negotiate it for whatever reason. But yeah, I do think he's stalling. I also have a video that I did last year, 2014, called The Duck List, and I break it down in that video too, so check that out. And I kind of go over that. And this was last year. So this was before some of the newer news. And I thought that Amir Khan was avoiding the fight with Kell Brook then. So not much has changed. Next question, Trap Mixtape Reviews. Do you think Kovalev is beatable? How? And who do you see pulling it off? What are Stevenson's chances? I'm not going to get too much into the Stevenson-Kovalev fight because I don't want to give it away, because it's a fight they could make if Stevenson gets past Bika. I will say this. First, I think everybody's beatable. I think certain people just have your numbers. I don't think there's a person that's created where there's no one on the planet that can beat them. You know what I mean? You look in the past and Muhammad Ali's and stuff and Ken Norton and just different people. Certain people, they're just certain matches. Like Marquez always gives Pacquiao problems. Whether you thought Pacquiao won, whether you thought Marquez won, those two, when you put them together in the same ring, they produce fireworks and they go at it. You know what I'm saying? And Pacquiao was really annihilating other people. Like when he fought Eric Morales in the second, third fight, he really beat him easy work. But he's always had difficulty with Marquez. So I don't think anyone's unbeatable. I think anyone is beatable. However, a fighter like Kovalev, it's going to take a lot of the right ingredients and certain characteristics to beat them. I feel the same way. What I say about Kovalev right now, I pretty much feel the same way about Triple G. I see flaws in their game. However, the big thing is they are good at what they do, and imposing their offense on their opponent. So even though I see flaws from a boxing perspective, it's going to take the right fighter to expose or bring or capitalize on those flaws. And that's not an easy task because one ingredient needed is a chin. You have to have a chin to deal with these guys. I mean, their punching power looks like it's absolutely the real deal. Since the questions about Kovalev, I'll try to majority focus on him, but his power is really serious. Like John Pascal hadn't been stopped, hadn't really been knocked down like that, and Kovalev was touching him, and he was just going down and looked like he was like about to get knocked out on more than one occasion. So his power is menacing. Other thing, I've heard that Kovalev, this is, I don't know, I forgot who said it. Maybe his trainer, somebody. They said Kovalev is the meanest son of a bitch that I've ever met in boxing. And I see that. I mean, he has a mean streak. So not only is he a powerful guy, he has that mean streak to his fight game. And he really goes in to handle business. So it's going to take the right ingredients, a chin being one of them. You're going to have to be in good shape and condition, because if he goes to the body, you're going to have to endure that or try to get him into the mid to late rounds. And I mean, given Kovalev is in shape and focused and doesn't lose focus, because anybody, if that's the case, anybody could lose. Mike Tyson showed you that. If the person is not focused and not training like they're supposed to be training, then, I mean, anything can happen. But, I mean, if it's the Kovalev that we've been seeing and he's focused and he's training and he's coming ready to fight, he's a tall order. I mean, to beat him, I think it's going to take a chin, endurance, experience, and just somebody who's good and can outbox him. So hopefully you have a reach advantage. Like a guy, Andre Ward, Andre Durrell possibly at 175. As far as Stevenson, he has a chance because he has menacing power. I would definitely favor Kovalev though. The biggest two traits that I've seen with Adonis Stevenson, he's powerful, but I think he's a one-handed fighter. He focuses primarily on delivering that left. So if Kovalev can deal with that and neutralize that, then I see him winning. And the other thing is, Stevenson, I think Kovalev has a better chin than Stevenson. So I'm not really that comfortable with Stevenson's chin, especially when you're delivering that type of power. But it is an interesting fight because Stevenson, he showed you his awesome power versus Chad Dawson. I mean, he absolutely stretched him in the first round early. He showed you power versus Tavoris Cloud and good boxing ability. So I could be wrong, but I would definitely lean towards Kovalev. Basically, the biggest two reasons would be that he's left-hand dominant, and Stevenson, that is, and then that Stevenson's chin, I don't know if he can handle that. And another thing is, you got to look at this. This is the last thing I will add, is Stevenson, since he became lineal champion, his competition has just kind of stayed at a plateau. It's been a certain level of guys. I think, truthfully, Kovalev has had probably a better schedule. Like, okay, Stevenson, you knocked out Chad Dawson, and we expect you to do great things. You fought Tavoris Cloud, who was very one-dimensional, and you looked great in that fight. But then after you started fighting, like, you know what I mean? He fought Funfara. That was cool. Chavez is fighting him next. His last opponent, I forgot. Now he's fighting Bika, a guy that just lost to Anthony Durrell, things like that. So you look at Kovalev's recent performances. Yeah, he had some people that like that, but he had the undefeated Cleverly, which I'm not saying Cleverly was a world beater, but he was undefeated, and I believe Kovalev went to his backyard to fight him. He fought a bunch of times, like Ishmael Salak, who at one time was a big prospect. Blake Caparello got knocked down, dealt with that adversity. Cedric Agnew, another young strong, so he stayed busy with those fights. Then he came back and fought the Wizard, Bernard Hopkins, and dominated him. And then he fought Jean Pascal, who was very fit for his fight, came ready, came and made it the best fight he possibly could, and Kovalev got the stoppage. So to me, I've been a bit more impressed with Kovalev's schedule, especially recently. If you look at the last two fights, beating Jean Pascal in the fashion that he did and beating Bernard Hopkins in the fashion he did is much more impressive than the Funfara fight, which was a back and forth fight. Funfara got knocked down, and then he knocked Stevenson down. So his performances haven't been on a Kovalev level with the same competition, in my opinion. Next question is from Mr. Ha 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 300. What are your thoughts on the possibility of Amir Khan fighting Chris Caged Algieri, and how do you see the fight playing out? Captain Punch Boxing said pretty much the same thing. What do you think of the Amir Khan Chris Algieri rumors? Now, I did a video, so check this video out. It was basically Chris Algieri is either Great White Hope or hype. And I talk about Amir Khan and break down Chris Algieri. I'm not a fan of the fight. I don't like the fight. I don't think it's a great fight. And I don't think it's the fight that's going to get Amir Khan the recognition that he's expecting. You're fighting a guy who got the shit beat out of him by Manny Pacquiao. He got knocked down 6 times, whether you think all of them were legit or not. Point being, he had no offense, and he stepped up in class, and it showed, and he wasn't prepared. And before that, his biggest win is a split decision. So I don't really see what it does for Amir Khan. And he's not a welterweight. He doesn't fight a welterweight. So to me, I'm not a fan of the fight. I see Khan winning either by a unanimous decision or possibly a TKO stoppage similar to Carlos Molina, where it's a late stoppage and, you know what I mean, a cut opened up, or Chris, you know what I mean, Chris Algieri's just taking unnecessary fast punches and something like that, and it's not really competitive towards the stretch. So most likely it's a decision, but I wouldn't be shocked at a TKO if Amir Khan were able to get something like that done via body shot or just cut stoppage. Next question, and it comes from the Diesel. Ego, why is it acceptable for certain fighters to not make weight in their divisions? Example, Canelo Alvarez and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So I'll answer that question real quick. I don't think it's acceptable, me personally, but again, I am a fair fan that calls it straight down the middle. Not everyone is like that. Some people, Canelo Alvarez has a big fan base. Julio Cesar Chavez, his dad's a legend. So sometimes when you get the big fan bases, you get the radical fans who are okay with anything. Like Miguel Cotto, he may fight Canine Bundridge or Highland, and it looks like he's not fighting Bundridge because Tim Bradley might fight Bundridge and stuff like that. And he had opportunities to fight Canelo and Triple G, and it looked like he ran the other way, and fans will defend it. Same thing with Canelo weight. Canelo making up his own weight class, and Chavez making up his own weight class versus Brian Vera. People are just radical and emotional. So I don't think it's okay, but people make excuses for their favorite fighter or the fighters they support for whatever reason. So it's some bullshit, but it comes with the territory. A lot of people have pride in their fighter, and they can do no wrong and all kinds of bullshit. Next part of your question, part B, what do you think about fighters being the judges for fights? Would that cut down on controversial decisions in the sport? And I absolutely agree. I think, yes, that is an excellent idea. And it's pretty straightforward. Once you've been in the ring, you have that experience. And the other thing is like this. Let's say Paulie Malignaggi became a judge for whatever reason, right? He's been on the wrong side of decisions before. He thought he beat Adrian Broner. The Juan Diaz decision in Texas was bullshit, and he spoke out on that. So unless you're just a hater, why would you want to put another fighter through that? You know what I mean? So I think they would probably be more fair because their legacy and their name is associated with that. And you know what I mean? People are going to be like, why the fuck did Paulie Malignaggi deliver Canelo Floyd Mayweather 114 scorecard? Makes no sense. So it really hurts their credibility because they have a name in the sport. You know what I mean? Versus CJ Ross or Levi Martinez, if they turn in some bullshit, a bullshit scorecard, nobody really knows them. You might know their faces from pictures and stuff, but they're not in the public eye. They don't have to do media interviews post fight. You know what I mean? They get on their bus or their limo or whatever and cut turf. So yeah, I think there would be more accountability that way. And just me personally, some of my favorite commentators are former fighters. Roy Jones, I like his job on HBO. Andre Ward does a great job. Paulie Malignaggi does a great job. And oh, what a quinky dink. They're all former or current fighters. And they know their shit. They've been there. They know what they're looking at. And when I see Roy Jones make up points, he knows because he's been there. He's like, oh, Bradley's starting to get frustrated or this and that. You know what I mean? Because he's been there. So yeah, I think it would cut down on the embarrassing, controversial sport cards because there'd be more accountability and just more seasoning and knowledge. And hopefully those fighters have some fucking integrity and they wouldn't deliver a card on some like, oh, I got paid out or I don't give a fuck. I didn't pay attention to this fight. hopefully they have more respect for the sport that gave them paychecks and, built their name to do some bullshit like that. Next question is from Vontae123. Ego at 147. Who do you think is going to be the best after May and Pac? Tough. I think there's a couple people in the runnings for that slot. Earl Spence Jr. Obviously, I got to see him step up and fight, but I think the skills are there. Kell Brook is someone that I'm keeping my eye on. Keith Thurman. There's a couple people that have the ability to take the torch, but I would say those three have really impressed me with their recent performances off the top of my head, to the point where I could see a bright future for them at 147 after May and Pacquiao retire. And then same question, or same person, Vontae123. You think Broner Garcia will be made? No, I don't. I think boxing, they put it out there and Broner said some shit like he wants to fight, but I doubt it will happen. I think politics will get in the way and ruin it like usual. Like Mikey Garcia was supposed to fight Yuriorkis Gamboa, and then politics stepped in and we didn't get that fight. There's been so many great fights, and they're friends and they know each other's camps and stuff like that. So I personally don't see it happening. Because, I mean, if that was the case, why didn't it already happen? Especially when they were closer. Broner was the man at 135, and Danny Garcia didn't look like he was so much outgrowing 140, and it didn't happen. Before, when undefeated Broner, now Broner's been defeated. So, and Mauricio Herrera, there's a blemish with the Mauricio Herrera fight for Danny Garcia. So, why didn't it happen before all that stuff if it was going to happen? So I don't think it'll happen, me personally. But if it does, more power to it, and I'll be happy. Next question, young boy. If Thurman and Brook were to fight, who do you have winning? Now, that's so difficult. I can't really go into detail because I'm going to have to watch tape and really break it down. And I would like to know the parameters. Like, is Thurman going to the UK to fight? All that stuff matters because I think these are two highly skilled people. I think Brook has an excellent jab. Keith Thurman has great power. Brook also has power, and he's big and fit for the division. Brook has showed some stamina issues in the past. He's looked better in his recent fights. Thurman showed you in his last fight with Guerrero he can go the full 12. So I'd really have to analyze that particular one to see where I would place my bet, because they're both talented, both undefeated. That's a barn burner. That's a great fight. So I'd have to watch tape and revisit recent performances to see exactly who I would pick. Next question, Bound123. Do you agree that Mayweather seems to have a strange setup with Roger and his dad in terms of training? His dad is head coach but never works the mitts with him. I'm thinking that surely the trainer should be doing mitts to practice strategy. What are your thoughts, please? Love from the UK. That's an interesting question. Never really thought of that. I really think they do have an unusual arrangement. I mean, Mayweather in general is kind of peculiar with some things that he does anyway. Like, he trains whenever he wants and runs the show, and he disrespected his dad and then he hired his dad. You know what I mean? So I think their arrangement in general is a bit unique, I guess you could say. So I think while Roger was training Floyd Mayweather for a majority of his career, a lot of his big wins, and then he had a strange relationship like with his dad. If you remember the 24/7, he was like, "I ain't no junior," and he was cussing his dad out and things like that. So they had an estranged relationship and they weren't really tight or close. And Roger was kind of like a father figure. So now I think he kind of went back to his roots, the person that got him into boxing, his dad. And, just comes with maturity and stuff like that. Maybe he was a little bit younger, hotter head. He called his dad a faggot or something like that. And as you get older, sometimes you just mature, and he wanted to include his dad, but he can't turn his back on his uncle, who was there for him for most of his training camp. So from what I gather, what I see is he wants to close his career, but he wants to include both of them. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't want to like, oh, you're out the picture, Roger, because Roger got him to this point and was there for a lot of his big fights. The Ricky Hatton fight, you know what I mean? He was there for a lot, most of them. You know what I'm saying? So for him to turn his back and be like, peace out, Roger, you can still hang around, but we're not doing mitts and stuff. I think that's just their formula. and he wanted to include his dad, but he didn't want to completely like exile Roger. So this is the best way that they can all get it done. And I think I think he's matured and he wants to close his career with all of the people he started from. Because if you notice, Rafael Garcia, the cutman, got released or whatever and said he was retiring, but he's been with the team for so long, and now he came back. Same thing with Leonard Ellerbe. There was some friction in 2014. It looked like he may be getting the boot, but everything looks like it is soothed over in recent memory. So ultimately, as Floyd knows his career is coming to a close and he's in those final chapters, final few fights or whatever, I think he just wants to include all the people that were with him the whole journey. You know what I mean? That's the best answer I can give you. Next question, Sydney Walker 78. Hey, what's good, Ego? Just wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts once Floyd gets past Pacquiao, him have a unification fight with Kell Brook? Also, do you think that he would give Floyd problems and have a good chance of winning? I love the fight. I think if Mayweather in fact gets past Pacquiao, he's the man. And the only thing left is to be the undisputed champion by fighting another person with the recognized belt, which is the IBF belt, which is Kell Brook. So I'm all for that fight. I think it's a great fight. Kell Brook has showed himself, started fighting better competition, and he got a belt, defended his belt with the mandatory, so why not make it happen? I think Kell Brook could pose problems, but I really have to see the outcome of Mayweather-Pacquiao and how it ends to really determine. But, like, let's say Mayweather went in and smoked Pacquiao and it would look easier than it should have been or some shit like that, then, I mean, he's the man and he's going to be very tough for anybody to beat. But if he has a tough time, then yeah, Kell Brook he has a great jab. Mayweather has had problems with people who jab a lot, Oscar De La Hoya, Cotto, etc. Kell Brook is young, strong, big, has a good jab, good boxing IQ, you know what I mean, holds when he needs to, and he's a younger guy. So, yeah, I think he could give him problems, but I want to see how Mayweather looks against Pacquiao first before I get too far into what will happen in a future fight. I mean, and another thing, what if Pacquiao knocks out Mayweather? Then we won't have this discussion about a unification with Kell Brook. So I really got to see May 2nd, see what happens, how both fighters look, and then I could revisit questions like this. But from right now, yes, Kell Brook can pose problems. He's young, strong, good jab, good champion. Next question from Robert Bowman. Who, in your opinion, has the fastest hands in boxing? Very difficult. Off the top of my head, Gary Russell Jr. and Amir Khan really stick out, but there's a lot of speed is very hard to measure because they have some people that have the ability, like Gary Russell and Amir Khan, they have the ability to get a punch from not being thrown to thrown from point A to B very quick, and they could put punches together very quick. So they have very fast hands in that regard, like combination punching and getting a punch from point A to B. So they're very fluid. They stand out. But you have different speeds. Like Rigondeaux is very fast-handed. Floyd Mayweather, Pacquiao. Floyd and Rigondeaux, well, let's say Floyd, he has very fast hands because his reflexes are quick. Like you make a move, then he already tagged you with something. So he's very quick. His reflexes are really quick. When I think of Pacquiao, he has push forward, explosive, fast hands. Like his hands are fast combinations and stuff like that. So those are the people that really stick out to me. Gary Russell Jr., Amir Khan, Mayweather, Pacquiao, and Rigondeaux. And they all have fast hands and speed, but a lot of them guys have different speed. There's different types of speed. It's not just one. You know what I mean? It's just like a car. Some cars, you know what I mean? You can have tons of fast cars. Some car might get you from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. Other car might be, once you're already at a high speed, going to the next level is really fast. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different variables with speed, but those people stand out to me. Final question from Spark X. Ego, being a longtime Prince Nassim Hamed fan yourself, do you think prime Prince Nassim would have been able to hang in there with featherweight stars of today and beat them? I'm talking about guys like Lomachenko, Walters, Russell Jr., Gradovich. So essentially the current champs of the division. By the way, Prince Nassim is one of my all-time faves as well. Shout out from the UK, always keeping it real on the content that you put up on your channel. Shout out to the UK. I'm getting some UK love. I like the UK. You guys always hold it down for me, and it's been that way for a while. So I like answering your questions, and you guys are passionate. So that's a difficult question. Prince Nassim is definitely one of my favorites for a variety of reasons. The entrances, the showmanship. He was bloody quick, and I really like Prince Nassim. The thing is different though for me is boxing has evolved. Like now you got guys who fight at a certain weight and they really crunch their bodies down. Like Nicholas Walters is big, and these guys crunch their bodies down into these tiny weight divisions. Versus Prince Nassim, he came from lighter weights, so at featherweight he was great, but he was pretty close to a featherweight. It's not, you know what I'm saying? Like he never, to my knowledge that I remember, I don't remember him like rehydrating to something ridiculous. So you look now at today's stars in different divisions. You know what I'm saying? You got guys like um, Lucas Matisse, I think, in a recent fight. He rehydrated something crazy to like 150, 160s. You had Terrence Crawford, who had a fight at 135 versus Gamboa, rehydrated over 151 pounds. So I think nowadays it's a bit different. So it would be more of a chore because you got guys who are naturally big and strong. So I think he could beat Prince Nassim would be able to beat some of those guys, but some of those guys might be too big because they're big guys crunching down into lower weight divisions. But yeah, he stands a chance with a lot of those people. Gradovich, especially guys like that. I mean, no disrespect. I've seen Gradovich live and stuff like that, but Prince Nassim had power, he had speed, and I think the biggest struggle would be is how big the modern day featherweights are in comparison to when Prince Nassim was fighting. A lot of those guys were probably more natural featherweights. That was like a natural fit for them, and not I'm going to rehydrate to 160 pounds and I'm a featherweight type of stuff that you get in boxing nowadays. So hopefully that answers your question. Shout out to the Prince. He was definitely one of my all-time favorites. Let me know how you think I did on this Monday Mail Day. I try to get to a lot of the questions. This one went a little bit longer, but as long as I got the questions you guys wanted. Stay tuned for next week. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like my video. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.